Hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. So I made a couple of changes to the audio settings and I hope that it works better now. Apologize for that. I am looking at getting a new microphone altogether. Right now I'm using obviously my gaming headset, which usually has pretty good audio, but apparently something was going on with the upload, or I'm not sure why two in a row did not have the amazing audio. So fingers crossed this one works, and know that I am looking at other options. And if you have an amazing, fabulous one that you think is fairly budget friendly, but is amazing, I know I've said that word I think twice now, please do let me know, because I am doing all kinds of fun research on microphones, learning a lot of things that I didn't really think I'd be just generally the difference between lots of different types of microphones, because there are a lot of different kinds of microphones out there that I didn't even think about it. I should. As a musician, I should know a little bit more about microphones, but I'm mostly sing without a mic, or at least I'm not the one who has to set anything up if there is microphones. Probably should should have gotten ahead of that before now and then learned a little bit more microphones. So it's been fun. Anyway, so what are we looking at today? I am re-recording. I had originally recorded about where I was on Orilium at the beginning of the month when I recorded the other videos. I guess not right quite at the beginning, but like mid-month. And yeah, I'm having to redo it because I didn't want to put another video where the audio just wasn't properly doing what it's supposed to do. So we're trying some new settings and we're going to jump in. So we're going to sort of flip it around. This time we're starting with Keirah instead of Elynis. Keirah has a larger workload with her particular, I guess, chosen profession of what she needs to do than Elynis does. But they read similar amounts of books because I tried to keep it sort of even as much as possible when I was choosing like who was going to get the extra credit book. Not every book I read was able to fit into this semester, but if I could fit it, obviously I was going to try to do so. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So the 2025 syllabus for Keirah has 6 books / 6 prompts / 6 classes that she needed to complete, and she did preview. She did actually finish. It was a little close. There were a couple books that once I was like, I got on the plane and I was trying to read books, and some of them that I downloaded before just would not play, and I was like, oh no, what happens if I can't get them downloaded once I'm on Wi-Fi while I'm abroad? This could be bad. It was fine. By the time, like, once I got off the plane and got Wi-Fi at where we were staying and everything, it all fixed itself. But, like, things got shuffled in general about what I was supposed to read on the plane and what I was actually able to read on the plane. So, yeah, it's okay. Had a nice time reading books anyway. Just wasn't quite the books that I had planned on reading in that particular order. All right, so first off, we used a letter of fate, as you can see right here. It only cost, I believe, like 5 points, which is really, really low, and I appreciate that. I haven't really bought much outside of things to let me take classes or extend. I haven't like purchased any stuff yet, so maybe I'll buy something next semester. I'm not sure, but I have been accumulating points. Hoping, or mostly so I could get all of the extra semesters done, but if they're only 5 experience points, I could probably spare a few. The girls do share one account, so everything that they make kind of goes into one spot. So I don't get like double points if I watch a live. I get one set of points and they would be splitting it. Just as an FYI, that is how G has said that would work if you have more than one character. And so that is how we are playing this. So they all have one bank account, and I do technically have a slide about it, about what is in there, but I decided I'm going to get rid of that slide because I'm right now using a spreadsheet, and it's so much more effective than trying to like make everything tiny to be able to fit into it. I may have one that just has like the summary of what they have at the end of the year. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But I do actually have a spreadsheet that's working way better for me. I'm a spreadsheet girly. Anyway, moving into coursework. Alchemy. I read This Cursed House by Del Sandine, and I very much enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I had quite a few 4-star books this month, which was amazing. I very much am happy when I get lots of 4 stars. If I get even lots of, 3 and 4-star mix, I'm usually a content reader, just because I tend to apparently grade a bit harshly. I'm going to do a video on what my star system looks like, and then y'all can tell me if you think that it is actually harsh, because I feel like there are a lot of, like, people are putting out how much stars they're getting, and they're significantly higher, and I'm like, am I just really picky? I don't know, but this means I liked it. 4 stars is like, yes, definitely glad I read it. So yeah, here we go. I liked it. This one was creepy at times, but it wasn't the kind of Halloween creepy vibes I thought that I was going to get. It was more family dynamic and accepting yourself and what it looks like to have generational problems. I don't want to get too much. I usually try not to get into this too much in general, but there were definitely social commentary. It was very good. It was very well done, at least in my opinion. I thought that it was handled well. And it didn't necessarily have a good ending, but it had a conclusion that I felt content with. I was like, okay, this works. This makes sense. It didn't need to end happy. Every book doesn't have to be happy, but it wasn't devastating either. There were a few things I was like, oh, but generally it was a satisfying ending. All right, for Inscription, another 4-star read, Daughter of New Worlds. I have been told multiple times I should read this book. I read the first couple of chapters, I want to say maybe at the beginning of the year, but I never got around to actually reading the book, and I don't remember if it was like one of those like read a chapter and then decide which book you're going to read things, I think is how that was. And I ended up choosing the other one because I didn't really love the first couple of chapters. It was very battlefield focused, and I was like, how is this going to get into this amazing story that I'm hearing is like fabulous? So I finally read it, and fabulous. I gave it 4 stars. Absolutely. I'm going to be reading the next one. I don't know when, but I am looking forward to it. So yeah, you were right. Book Talk, you were fabulous. So next up was Spells and Incantations. Wicked Embers is part of a series, the Souls of Fire series by Carrie Arthur, and I usually adore Carrie Arthur's books. I don't dislike this series at all. I think it's lovely, but it isn't a 4-star series for me. It's a 3-star series. So I enjoy it. I'll definitely get around to the next book in the series when I get a chance, when it's easily available, and I'm able to get through that. But it's not something I am absolutely devouring like some of her other series is. It's also a shorter series, and I think that may be part of why I haven't like just gone down the rabbit hole in this one, because the world isn't as large as some of her other series have been. So I just, maybe something in my brain is like, don't get too attached. I don't know, but I think it's fun because, she's a phoenix. I mean, this is all in the back, so I'm not giving away too much. She's a phoenix, and they're solving mysteries, and those are both things that I like, paranormal and mystery, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know how I feel about the mechanics of love for the Phoenix race, I guess you could say, and that is something I think that I will hopefully, I don't know, it just seems so tragic. As someone who is I am Demi, so I definitely don't always get the same sort of attraction that other people talk about and things with other people, and I haven't for most of my life. It's interesting seeing kind of the opposite of like she definitely is a very sexual being and everything else, but her like soulmate, like it's never going to work, and they know going into it. I'm like, this is just so tragic. Ugh. And you learn that in like the first couple chapters of the first book, so it's not giving away too much about it. But I'm just like, how would that be if that was me, of being like the only person I will ever connect with, as someone who has that needing that emotional connection in order to feel sexual attraction? That would just, I just can't. Anyways, that's something I usually love about paranormal books in general, and when it comes to romances, because they're usually like, a lot of times they're fated mates, and there's this like soul connection that I just like really vibe with as a person, but also they tend to be storylines that I can get behind, and get into. I guess you could say they fulfill me. But anyways, it's 3 stars because I have some sort of like feelings about this, as you can tell, and I'm trying to keep an open mind as I finish this series out, because I really like her books in general, and they usually have some ups and downs for the main couple throughout the series, and I just don't know which way it's gonna go for who and how that's gonna work, and are they gonna, like, I don't know how that come back together moment that she usually gets by the end of the series is gonna work with how she set up this mythology for the Phoenix. And I'm just like, okay, so I'm gonna stop there so I don't like blabber on. Maybe when I finish the series I can come back and talk about it, but I've been thinking about it. Next up was Stranded, 4 stars. I very much enjoyed it. It was a bit dark, but it was purposeful darkness. It wasn't darkness that was like, oh, we just want to write a dark book, or we want to sort of explore. I'll say this is sort of like, what is the name of Lord of the Flies. But if there was a reality show going on, and then all hell breaks loose. Yeah. I did like the ending. I didn't like that I liked the ending. I was like, ooh, should I like that I enjoyed that or not? But I think that it was kind of deserved. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. I did. All right. Then we get to Brave New World. This one is only a 3-star, and it just barely made it a 3-star. It was one of my least favorites so far on the banned books that are dystopian political commentary, sort of side quests that we've been going on lately. We being my husband and I, and so I'm going through the Penn's 11 banned books, but also we're sort of adding in other political commentary from similar sort of dystopian viewpoints, and this was not my fave. Last month we read, I guess 2 months ago at this point, we were at Animal Farm, and we had lots to talk about after Animal Farm. When we finished this one, there wasn't really as much to talk about. I felt like we felt more impassioned about Animal Farm than we did about Brave New World, but they were talking about very different things, and I think I didn't realize what we were discussing when we went in, and it didn't vibe with me as much as some of the other ones have. But it was still 3 stars. I thought it was a good commentary. I just didn't really love sort of how it was written. I guess I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. All right. Conjuration, I guess I should say, that was Art of Illusion. Conjuration was No Judgments by Meg Cabot. Contemporary romance, 3 stars. Most contemporary romance falls into that 3-star of, yep, glad I read it. don't need to necessarily reread it. But if someone was interested in similar books along this type, I'd probably say, yeah, go for it. I got really lucky that this was for random country. So I'm going to leave it at that. I got lucky that I didn't have to find anything kind of crazy, and this was already coming available on my reading. So that was fun. Adventure Board. The Dragon Healer was the first one, and I read Three Body Problem. I went into this thinking that it was going to be a 4-star read, and I ended up settling on 3-star. Not because it was in any way like bad or anything. I just think that I need a second read probably to get some of the physics and math concepts that are sort of discussed in here. And it was very long for, I thought, could have been potentially a bit abridged in order to get the same sort of message across. But I did like it, and I thought it was an interesting read. All right. Missing Shoe. I just had to pick something with a shoe on the cover. This was on my banned books list as well, and it's Water for Elephants. I gave it a 2-star, and I almost DNF'd this book. Not because that the commentary was poor or that the storyline was necessarily bad. It was purely the animal cruelty. And I was very upset at multiple times in this book, and I almost put it down, and I was like, no, you're going to finish this book because it has got to have a redemption at some point, and it does, you know. Then all the animal, they get some of the animals, and they're able to take care of them and all that jazz. But like, I was unhappy. So we got 2 stars. I don't think it's a bad thing to talk about how there was animal cruelty in the circus, because there was. I just didn't need it in as vivid detail, personally. It really hurt my heart. So I didn't enjoy it. So next up, Dive Volunteer, which was just book with a sea or ocean theme. So I chose These Summer Storms, gave it 3 stars. Again, contemporary. Oh, it was 4 stars. Which, am I thinking of a different book? One moment. I think that my brain is just mixed up 2 different books. Nope. I know what this one was. This one I thought was interesting. I read 2 books that were both beachy themed on the cover. Sorry. Brain glitch. I liked this one. I thought it was interesting how it was laid out. I did not necessarily love some of the subplot that was in there, but I liked some of the reveals as they were going through. They'd be like, and then we're going to turn the corner and we're going to learn something new about this character. And you're going to have feelings about it. And then we're going to go over here and you're going to do again. And I thought that was well done. I gave it 4 stars. Sorry about that. I don't usually glitch on what books I have read. And apparently, apologies. So I did not get points anyway for the Guild Book Club. And I had already just read this the month before. 5 stars. Amazing. I think I've gushed on this one enough. Maybe not. I still need to probably do its own video because so much amazingness. But yes, it was Blood Over Brighthaven was the Guild Book Club for Keirah. Then we move on to the extra credit, and I'll go through these ones a little more quickly because I am realizing that I am chatting a whole lot. So anyway, Animal Studies was the novella, My Boyfriends Are All Monsters. It was 3 stars. It was okay. It was definitely erotica, more than romance, in my opinion. There wasn't a whole lot of, I guess, romance plot before they get to spice, and then it's just pretty much spice. There was some interesting sort of magic going on, and we didn't really get to explore that as much as I would have liked to. That's one of the problems with novellas in my mind, is that I really usually want to dive deeper into the world and understand more about it. And I didn't get that, and I really wish I could have. I would like to know more about the MMC's life before they met the FMC. I would have liked to know like how exactly that magic works. If you've read it, yeah, like how do all these different, but they're all one, but like, okay. Then we get to astronomy. And for that one, I read The Restaurant End of the Universe. I am working my way slowly through a bunch of different series, one of which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And so this was next on my list, and I read it actually in the hotel on a work trip. And it was a nice little cozy read. It was, I don't know if you want to call it cozy, but I was feeling cozy, all like bundled up. And in the very cold hotel room, and yeah, I was feeling cozy. I don't think it's necessarily a cozy read. I probably should specify that differently. But I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as Hitchhiker. I'm hoping the next book is better. I also read A Young Zaphod on the same work trip. I tried to, that's a short story. It's not necessarily a book, but I did knock out 2 technically on my list for a Hitchhiker while I was on that trip. For demonology, I got the next Marzolian Isles book. Gave it 4 stars. I really did like this one. Actually a little bit better than some of the previous ones in the series. It so diverges from what they ended up doing with the TV series. Like, I don't even think of them as the same characters necessarily anymore because they're so different. So if you really, really enjoyed the TV series, then you will probably like the like first book, maybe 2. But then after that, like they're completely separate. The life of each of the characters is just very different. FYI. But I did like this one a lot. Then we did another novella. This one was a buddy read novella, and it was Dirty Little Trick. Again, on this one, this was definitely almost all spice. So if you're not a spicy reader, don't read this one, and don't read The Boyfriends Are All Monsters. But yeah, it was cute. 3 stars. It was, I feel like if it had been fleshed out in a full book, it would have had similar themes to several other dark romances that we've seen in the last year, 2 years, but they condensed it into like an hour or 2 of reading time. So nothing bad about it. I thought it was cute. And pumpkins are fruit, by the way. I looked it up. I said, are pumpkins fruit? And the answer was yes. If you disagree, I could pick a different one. Pumpkins are fruit, apparently. Psionics and Divination. I read Heartless Hunter. I do intend to read the second one of this one. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the second one in this one. I don't know how they're going to come back from the ending of the first one. But I mean, that's what you do in romantasy, where there is a multiple arc and they are enemies to lovers, right? You've got to get to that enemy stage. So, yes, 4 stars. Did enjoy. Didn't like the very, very ending, but that's because my heart was sad. And I was like, how are we going to come back from this? We're going to come back from this. Like, you have to. Restoration, Filthy Rich Fae, Fallen Court, which is the second one in this series. I had originally started this series because I thought it was a duology, and I was going to use it for Herkiad for duology. And then I found out that there's a third one coming, so it's no longer a duology. So we're just finishing it up, and we'll probably end up reading the third one. I liked this one better than Filthy Rich Vampire. This series so far, I've enjoyed more. But they're both probably 3 stars in my mind. Just this is a healthier 3-star than the other. Alrighty then. So then I get into all of the dragons and things. And I ended up bonding, or Keirah ended up bonding with the oh goodness gracious, the lore dragon. And then of course we got the lovely raccoon, trash coon, as well because everyone got that one. So we got those two. And then scrolly. I was going to scooch down to the supplementals, but I think I will wait to do those until the end of month just because I'm running lower on time. But I am working my way through all of the supplementary qualifications, opportunities, etc., etc. They're just going to probably do like 1 or 2 prompts a month, trying to get those knocked out because every time I do one, I have to do it double. So if I'm, for example, let me go to just one. For a dragon writing license, I had to read 4 books with dragons and 2 movies, or I did movies instead of show, but movies with dragons. I will say, of this particular series, again, very much so erotica, very much, I don't know how y'all do your spicy levels, but like, technically, it's like probably 5-star, 5 chili peppers. It's up there. But I looked for a series with dragons. I needed like 4 dragon books, right? So I was like, novellas with dragons or short novels with dragons. And this is what came up. And they were available immediately at Libby. So I did indeed finish all 6 of them. They were lovely. And now I'm going to blush and move on to the next one, which is Elynis. Same thing. Elynis only had to read 3 books, 3 classes, 3, however you want to do that, to pass. So she had a lot more of the extra credits. Shapeshifting, I read the next Aisling Gray novel because it has a dragon on the cover and it's also about dragons. So it fit 2 of the prompts there, or 2 parts of the prompt. And Fire Me Up, I was sad at the end. I was like, now I know they're going to have to fix it because it's a whole series. But again, it was a month for, like, how are they going to fix this? Romances. Next was Art of Illusion. I read 3 Shattered Souls. I did not love the ending of this trilogy. It made sense. I feel like they buttoned some things up way too fast, and they let some things go way too long. Or I guess, yeah. I don't want to get too much into it, but my husband had the same exact sort of review. He was like, it was okay. The others were better. And I was like, okay, I agree. He finished his book before me because I was working on other stuff still. And I was like, so what did you think? Am I going to enjoy it? He's like, eh. I was like, oh, good. But I agree. 3 stars. I believe the first one I gave 4 stars back in the day. Not that long ago, last year, when I read the first one. But this one I gave 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite of the series, unfortunately. And then this one was for a young adult book club. Young Adult Books book club, I believe. And it was, I think it's called Young at Heart, if I remember right. But anyway, it's an R.L. Stine, You May Now Kill the Bride, Return to Fear Street novel. And it has to have witches or the occult, and it had witches. 3 stars. It was fun. I read this one on the plane on the way to my business meeting, so towards the beginning of October. And I did not finish Mask of Mirrors. I have finished it now, but I had not finished it at the time. I ended up giving it 4 stars in November. So you'll see that when I talk about November stuff later. But I left it here because we were talking about at the end of October. Where was I? I had not yet finished it, but I wasn't getting any points for it anyway for the Guild Book Club because I wasn't doing it at the same time. And I also would, even if I'm doing it at the same time, I only get points for Elynis's Guild Book Club, no matter if I read them both or if I read Keirah's, but not Elynis. I have to be the book club or the, I guess, category that I'm in. I have to choose the guild I'm in. And you can only be in one guild, so I am in Elynis's guild on the Discords, therefore it's hers. So yeah, I didn't finish it. but I have finished it since. All right, next up, Dragon Healer, Mate. This was my least favorite so far of her books, and that makes me so sad because I really enjoy most of her stuff. There's a couple of her books where she has characters who are either autistic coded or who are demisexual coded. They don't necessarily come out and she doesn't come out and say they are demisexual, but everything they discuss about how they experience attraction and etc. is just demisexual. It just be labeled demisexual, and it was lovely. That's how I discovered Allie Hazelwood. Actually, was reading books, romance books that had demisexuality in them, because that's what I am, and I'm also autistic, and so I thought that was really cool, and I ended up just binging all of her Seminar series, and then I read the Check and Mate, which is a young adult one, but it still had me kicking my little feet. It was fabulous. I liked Bride. It was like the first foray into paranormal, which is also something I really like. Paranormal romance. I was excited. I was like, you got all the things I love. Yay. This was a 3-star. I didn't dislike it. I just didn't think it was as good as her other books. Okay. Next up, 4 stars for Over the Top, which is The Missing Shoe. Lots of shoes on this cover, by Jonathan Van Ness. It was a fairly short, in the scheme of autobiographies, but I thought it had some good discussion points, and it was interesting. I liked it. All the Stars and Teeth, I thought I was going to love this one way more than I did. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it's cool magic system, interesting. I'll probably give the second one a go at some point, but it wasn't my favorite of the month. So, and that was for Dive Volunteer. Then we move on to extra credit. I finished House of Sky and Breath finally. Took me forever to finish it. 4 stars, just mostly because I didn't finish it all, and then it was 2 parts because I was reading the graphic audio version, so like I had to get it the first one, and then I'd listen to the first one, then I had to. It took me forever to get through this one. I was barely gonna get it in time for the second part to finish it, but I did. Hooray! Then we had Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, 4 stars. No notes. It's a book about banned books, amongst other things. It's on the banned book list that I was reading because it's on the banned book list, and I enjoyed it. Lots to discuss. We had lots of discussions on that one. All right, God of the Woods. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't super memorable to me personally. It was okay. It wasn't one that I would probably go back and read again anytime soon, and I also probably would have to remind myself in a few months what was this book. Like, go read it and be like, I read that one. What was that about again? It just didn't stick in my brain all that much. Then we get to Astronomy, which I read Not Our Daughter by Chad Zunker. This one was part of the Saturday Book Club. I'm pretty sure that was what this one was from. It also fits into a Z if you're looking for an author with a Z name. I don't remember if I used it for a Z or if I'd already gotten a Z by then, but I think it was on my list originally saying, oh, this is on there, and it's available on Kindle Unlimited at the time when I was looking it up. And so I read it, and I think it's on Kindle Unlimited. At least it was at one point. Anyway, I really liked it. It was a shorter read. Thrillers I find are usually like, at least really good thrillers tend to be like 300-400 pages. At least the ones that I've read this year that I really enjoyed. This one was shorter than that. And I feel like I could definitely have used some more chapters in a few places, which is why I didn't go to 4 stars, but it was really good. Like, premise. Child is kidnapped. Psych. Child is saved from someone who is in the government and wants this child killed. Mother shows up on the front door and is like, run, and then she dies. And the foster parents are like devastated that they're gonna have to give this little girl back because she's about to go back to her mother, and then the mother shows up, and then they're like, away they go, and then it's they're sort of on the run from the feds, trying to keep their daughter safe, and also trying to hide her from an unknown enemy who they've been told wants to harm her. And the end, ties everything up nicely, which is where I would have liked to see a little bit more, is the last couple of chapters. I feel like could have been stretched, and I would have liked a little bit more there, but I liked it. It was very fast paced. The Vanishing. This one, the ending had me thinking, and I gave it 4 stars, and I was like, wait. And I did this on purpose. I am 99% sure. I'm like, so is this, or is this real? Is this not real? I don't know. I'm very confused. But I think that's the point. The point is like, you're supposed to be like, what's going on? And you can choose either ending. You can choose this sort of sad ending if you believe one ending, one truth, or you can choose to remain in the bubble that she thinks that she's ended. And I think you can tell from that which one you think. I was leaning towards being reality, but I enjoyed this one. It was weird and creepy, but again, not in the way I thought it was going to. Most of the Halloween / October themed books that had been chosen for my book clubs, I anticipated like very, very creepy, like scary stuff, and it wasn't. It was like they were just differently creepy than anticipated. I'm like, maybe I don't know what a creepy book is. And it's not usually my jam, so maybe I should start reading more creepy books. Then I read The Circus Infinite for Inscription, 4 stars. I really, really wish there was a second one to this one. I would love to get more into this world, just generally. It's like magic, but sci-fi, but it's young adult, and there is discussions of like gender and sexuality, and enjoyed very much. 4 stars. I don't want to get too much into it, but Q did a review of this one, and that's why I ended up choosing this one, because I needed to do 3 different books that she had done reviews on, and I ended up picking this one for one of the ones, and 4 stars. Completely agreed. Fabulous. All right, we're right at the end, so almost done. Spells and Incantations. I read A Little Wicked, which was a Halloween novella for a buddy read that I did. It was 4 novellas that you had to read for like one buddy read, and so yeah, there was 4 novellas that counted for 1 book in this particular buddy read. But this one fit, and it had a word from the last title, which I believe was Wicked. For Wicked Embers was the one I'd read right before this one. So I picked A Little Wicked up because I was like, what do I have on my like available now, and or on Kindle Unlimited, and or on my bookshelf, blah 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 blah, that has Wicked or Ember, and Ember was impossible. Couldn't find it, but I found Wicked. And I do need to also read Wicked the book that the musical is based on, but it was not available yet. I'm still waiting for it. So yeah, I ended up choosing this one. 3 stars. It was not my favorite novella / read of the month. It wasn't bad. It just it was okay. Sorry if you loved it. It was okay. All right, and then we get into the last one, which was Red Rising for Restoration, 4 stars. I feel like I'm going to want to read this one again before I move on to the second one, because I ended up having to read this one in sort of chunks. I read part of it before the plane, and then part of it like well after. But yeah, I finished it before the end of the month, but at the same time, like I read part of it I want to say 2, it was almost like right at the very end. So it was like the beginning of my 3-week checkout period and then right at the very end. And I was like, I feel like I have a disconnect from the part I read here and the part I read here. How am I forgetting how those melded together? Because it feels like the book completely like went from this type into like this type, and I I very much enjoyed it, but I feel like maybe I missed a chapter. I don't know how that happened because like I felt like there was a little bit of disconnect, like I said, from the beginning when he's you know, with his family and all of the sadness that happens, and then he's going through all the stuff that he has to deal with before he gets put into, we'll call it school. And then all of a sudden we're in trials and games. And not Lord of the Flies again, but like similar situation where you're like battling against other people, but it's also school, but it's also like real life. And I was like, wait, did I just miss the disconnect about how, like, I feel like there should have been like some chapters on the school before they actually start all of the stuff that's in the trials and games that I just missed. And I maybe I fell asleep because I did an audiobook on it and I didn't think I did, but maybe I missed a chapter. But that was the only thing, is I was like, how did we get from here to here? And I don't, my brain just didn't want to connect the two pieces probably. But anyway, I'm going to read it again before I read the next one because I really enjoyed it and I want to read the whole series. I want to make sure I didn't miss something. Because maybe I did. Because it just doesn't feel like the two parts of the book connected in my brain somehow. It could be, like I said, because I read them at like disparate parts of the month and my brain just forgot a piece before I went into the last part of it, which is possible. But I want to read the entirety of it. So maybe I'll do that at the beginning of the year or something like that, is read it again and then do the second book, because I want to find out what's going to go on with this whole like world. But at the same time, I feel like I want to make sure I understand all the things, because there's so much like politics that are implied going to happen in the future, and I don't want to have missed something about that. If that makes sense. I like the political intrigue, and I'm like, I don't want to miss something because I forgot it. So I'm gonna read it again. Anyways, I said I was gonna stop talking soon, so I will stop talking soon. It is almost the end of November. I plan on doing a couple of videos here upcoming, since I'll have some time over the weekend for the holiday weekend free. I want to do one about my star system, planning for December, and then I've already started to put together my priority reads spreadsheet, I guess, and my Canva for 2026, so of what it's going to look like, etc. And so let me know if you think that it would be interesting for you to see, what do you call it, sort of preparing any of that stuff. Because for instance, I need to prep for Pop Sugar for 2026, I need to prep for 52 Book Club, and I need to, I'm not going to really probably prep for the A to Z challenges. I just sort of do those as they fit, because I find that until probably the last quarter of the year, it's just you find something and it fits in there, and then you sort of have to start picking things out and be like, oh, what fits here? And I only have 3 letters left and things like that. Especially with as much reading as I'm doing, I don't find that's particularly difficult compared to some of the other challenges where I'm picking prompts that are a little more, shall we say, tricky. I really like the ones that I do. I like Pop Sugar, for example. I can't talk today. For example, sort of stretches me and makes me choose books that maybe I wouldn't purposefully pick out. So I've read, I want to say like 3 or 4 books over the past year, specifically for that challenge, where I was like, ooh, I feel like I got a lot out of this book, whether that was a fiction book by an author I may never have read otherwise, or it was a nonfiction book about a topic that I just didn't know a lot about. And not that I ever thought anything bad about any of that stuff, but at the same time, I wouldn't have necessarily picked it out. And going through the process of looking for books like that, I maybe picked out not just the book I read there, but also a couple other ones that I found along the way, which have been really interesting. So let me know if you would like for me to take you along while I plan. I don't typically plan where it's like these are the exact books I will have to read. It's more of these are books that are interesting to me that would fit into these prompts, and I sort of make like little mini lists on Storygraph for each of the prompts, and then when I get into it, if I find a book that I've read that fits into a prompt, I'll pop it in there and look and see on those books that are still in that list if there's anything I really want to add to my TBR, and then add those to the TBR and then remove them from the list going forwards. Or if I, am looking for a new book, something I'm interested in, I can go look at those little mini lists. So I started doing those today, and then I was like, you know what? No, I need to pause, find out if anyone's interested in coming with me on that journey of planning it. And so maybe I'll do that over the weekend if y'all are interested. But I will chat with y'all later, and have a great day.